Hello, everyone. Papa Stro, Gorgeous Swords of Byrd, Robbie Eagle, all the above. And you're listening to Live in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm going to let you guys know, and I'm going to let Jimmy across the street know that I am for the friggity frack out, man. This traveling is for the young guys. I didn't put in my miles, man. I didn't put in my miles, Jimmy. There used to be a saying in the wrestling business, he's a fucking 40 miler. I'm a fucking 40 miler now. I've come to understand that. I used to be a road warrior, but now I'm a 40 miler. And for those of you that don't understand what that means, it means a wrestler that didn't get out of his area much, his hometown, whatnot, and hadn't logged many miles, we'll say. So, yeah, especially a 40 miler, man.
Weekend warrior kind of guy.
Something like that.
I don't even like doing anything on the weekends now, man. I'm all like, oh, man, we got to do that on Sunday. Screw that. You know what I'm saying?
But I had an absolute blast. Let me say that. First of all, for the people that know, Jamie was there. Is at the Kayfabe Cave. It's
Hold up. What did you just say?
I said Jamie was there.
Oh, my God. Okay. Yeah, so we have 4 bookings, right? 4 bookings. So one of the 4. So he's doing 25% so far. That's awesome, Jamie.
He's batting 250 in baseball. That's not too bad.
I mean, he's getting near a Hall of Fame, numbers.
If he can get to 300, I mean, that's a good batting average.
That is a great batting average. Now, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Talk about Todd and the Kayfabe Cave.
Yeah, Todd Camp owns the Kayfabe Cave in Pulaski, Tennessee. Man, I cannot say enough good things about this guy. He now owns more PG-13 and Cyberpunk memorabilia. He bought my Cyberpunk mask because I don't have the outfit anymore, and he had already bought Jamie's ice outfit and has it on a mannequin in the store. And what it is, he sells wrestling figures. He sells all kinds of different little old school collectible type stuff. It's a really cool place in a pretty small town. So I think a lot of people come in there, and really their only other option in their town is like Walmart to go buy a wrestling figure or something like that. Or, so he has I think he's got a pretty good deal going there. And there was a good turnout, man. Dave Milliken showed up, mentioned you to me, Jimmy. He said, your buddy Jimmy wants me to come on the show. And he brought not the originals, because we all, we talked about that, where those were some guy, the ones that we had 16 times in Memphis.
Yeah.
Dave originally made those, but the ones brought are replicas. But I mean, obviously look just like them because he made them. But so that was gorgeous. Cool to have those for the pictures.
Did it feel right? I mean, did it feel, from what you remember, did it feel pretty perfect?
It did. I mean, it looked just like them,
They're gorgeous, man. They look so good.
They weren't as beat up.
yeah, exactly.
And so that was cool to have those
belts could talk, right? If those belts.
Yeah, right. But it was very cool to have those there, and to have Jamie there, and we had an absolute blast, man. We laughed for 4 hours, man, and awesome. I think the people that were there, the ones that would come in and buy stuff, wouldn't leave, because Jamie was, he's a one-man show, and then when me and him are together, I can feed him stuff, and I can come back on his stuff, and it was we had a good time.
Yeah, man, that is awesome. I think
everybody made some money. So,
hey, that's the important part, right? So obviously, if you're in the Pulaski, Tennessee area, if you're just in the state of Tennessee, make sure you go by the Kayfabe Cave. Todd seems like he's got it together, and honestly, he has great taste in tag teams. Am I right?
He sure does, man. He loves us to death, man, and like he also bought for me. And I kind of didn't want to part with it, but the offer was nice. And I sold him my hubcap that I painted Ric Flair on and actually used at Ric Flair's last match and had signed by Flair. So now he has it at the Kayfabe Cave. I don't know if anybody probably has enough money to buy it off him because I don't think he'd sell it, but it's signed by myself and Ric Flair now and was used on that pay-per-view, which I think is extremely cool. I wanted to keep it, man. I really did. But then I got to thinking, what am I going to do with it? This guy really appreciates it. It's not like I'm selling it to some idiot that's going to not take care of it, lose it next week,
It'll go to a good home.
Yes.
That's the important part. You know what's funny is he's already posted it on Twitter, and Conrad, who helped you get that autograph, has already liked it. So, hey.
Conrad's like, that fucking Michael the fucking Wolfie. I don't know that I told Conrad that it was, hey, this is just for me, man. I'll never sell it. I don't think I said that. I hope I didn't. If I did,
no.
Sorry, Conrad. I got to fix my car, bro.
Dude, he's a huge collector, and he knows the game. He knows what's up. I guarantee he's bought something from somebody that has said, no, I'll never sell it. And he's put the hard, sell on him, and then boom, it's gone. But hey, look, you know what? I mean, I was thinking you were going to will that to me, but hey, we'll figure something else out. But anyway, no, that's cool. I'm glad it's gone to a good
become friends with Todd. Maybe he will.
Oh, Todd will outlive us all, man. What do we say? So anyway, good deal. And I'm so happy Jamie was there. It seemed like I watched a few videos and pictures and seemed like he was in good spirits. PG-13 back in town. That's awesome, man. So did you all wrestle ever back in Pulaski back in the day?
Oh, man. I've wrestled in Pulaski way back in the day. I'm pretty sure me and Jamie have together as well, but I know, yes, I've wrestled in Pulaski more than one time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It always drew good.
That's cool, man. Well, it's a cool town and a cool place, and I'm just happy because, like I said, it's 1 for 4 right now. We've got 1 down, 3 more to go.
And hey, let me tell you this. This is funny. So I'm on the way down there. We got to leave it. It was early Saturday morning when we started to head down, and I got a text from Jamie. I'm like, "Where you at?" And he's like, "I'm at the casino." I said,
oh gosh!
What? I said, "What?" And I don't know which one he was at, but at any rate, then he sends me a picture. That son of a bitch won $850 and then still showed up on time to that signing. So that says a whole lot. He showed me the picture. He won $850 before he got there and could have turned the fuck back around.
Yes. 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 And what's funny, man, is, Jamie and I have been texting back and forth. We've talked all together with another party. There are some plans going on for Jamie, maybe possibly in the future of the entertainment industry. Let's just say that. So he seems to be in a good spot. You know what I'm saying? And
done after this year, I'm telling you, he said that more than once. He said, I better get it while you can. 2023, 30 years, PG-13, that's it. We were taking a picture with somebody, and they said, "We're so glad to see you. I hope this ain't the last time we see you." He goes, "It probably is."
I mean, he's being honest, though.
Yes.
You gotta love that. You gotta love that. And hey, that is another point to this whole matter. Yeah. You may see Wolfie D after this. Maybe not. Maybe Wolfie just says, forget it. He's not a road warrior anymore. But
40-miler.
Seriously, if you're in the area for a PG-13 signing, do not miss that opportunity. I'm telling you, y'all. Jamie is kind of guy that will say it and never do it again. Wolfie, you can be talked into stuff sometimes.
I can. I'm persuadable.
But he stays up on Dundee Mountain or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And he's gone forever, That's
it, man. That's it.
But anyway.
We even had the former mayor of Pulaski. He just, I don't know if he was defeated or, stepped down, whatever, but he did it for a long time. I from what we were talking with the guy, and in December. So he just recently the mayor, whatever, and he even came down to see us. I thought that was pretty cool. So.
That is very cool. And dude, I saw all kinds of pictures from all kinds of awesome friends of the show, great listeners. Tim Fox, I saw he dropped by. I got a picture with y'all. A couple other guys, Jason Tucker, I saw him get a picture. Man, it was cool to see all that, man. It really was. Very happy to see.
It was a fun time, man.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? We've got a really cool guest today.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
Let's don't forget it, because he played a huge part in PG-13 getting over.
Speaking of PG-13, right? He came in at a crucial time. We're talking about Gorgeous George III, the Maestro, Robbie Eagle, and I can't wait to get him on the line and get to talking to him, man. Well, I say we shut up and let's do that. What do you say?
Shut up. Let's shut the fuck up.
Okay. All right. It's going to be a weird interview, but hopefully Stro's talkative.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to prowrestlingtees.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, folks, we're back. And as promised, we've got a super cool guest, man. Somebody I haven't seen in years, but played a very, very cool role in the PG-13 era in Memphis, man. Stepped up, did a great fucking job. I'm going to call you Gorgeous George III. People call you Robbie Eagle. People call you the Stro, but you're Gorgeous George to me, man. Robbie, Gorgeous George, Stro, what the fuck's up, dude?
Oh man, how you guys doing? It's so cool hearing your voice again, Wolfie. It really is, man. It's been way too long, man.
Oh man, it's been a long time, man. But what great history we have, man. What great history we have, and we're gonna get into all of that. So you're living in Dallas, Texas?
Well, for now, yeah. I'm in the transitional phase. I'm back and forth between that and like the Carolinas. So,
yeah.
you know,
Are you still working? Do you wrestle?
I haven't retired yet. I just like do a bunch of other things on the side. Acting, TV and film, commentating. You name right, radio podcasts. You name it.
Yeah, you got a podcast yourself, right?
Yes, sir. WCW Retro every Thursday night at 9 on VOCNation.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Check that out.
It's like pretty much we live in the old days. It's more nostalgia. You know what I mean?
Welcome to us.
Yeah, I was going to say that is us. We talk about a lot of our listeners are Tennessee, Kentucky, just the Memphis area, and we like to talk about that kind of stuff, man. Don't get too much into modern stuff just because, quite frankly, it's not what I signed up for. But
right.
we had a great run, man. I want to put you over in so many ways, man, because when you came to us, man, in Memphis, it was a shitty time for Doug. The story was that we were starting an angle with Tommy and Doug, and then Eddie passed away, unfortunately, and Doug had to take some time off, and you basically got thrown into the fire of completing and help facilitate this angle that was honestly me and Jamie's like first real push. We had done the angle with the Eliminators and kind of got us over, but this angle was the one that really did something for us, and you stepped into a very hard position of taking Doug's place, but you did it so fucking good, man. And I mean, the matches that we had with you and Tommy were awesome. It meant something. It worked. And I cannot thank you enough for being there and being that person and just doing it in a way that I'm not sure many people could have been put in that position and made it work like you did.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, brother. I mean, I was just honored to be a part of it. I was a fan of you guys before I even stepped in, honestly, because I try to do my homework, doing anything, beforehand, right? And I was a fan of you guys, and just a fan of the whole territory, for that matter, and just to be put in the mix with you guys, and filling in for the great Doug Gilbert, and to Tommy Rich. Oh my God, I couldn't have been happier. It's like some of the best times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, this is a funny story that I tell people sometimes of when you came in, I'm not going to say pissed off, but you made Frank Morrell like, so like, what the fuck is up with this dude? Because I can't even count the times where, you know how you pass the guys on the road, we're all going to the fucking same place and all that. And it'd be me and Randy and Frank. Frank would be driving. We'd pass you, and then you'd turn your light on. You'd wave at us, and then you'd go forward. Then you'd slow down. You'd turn your light back on. You'd wave at us again. And I can't tell how many times we would pass each other, and you just keep waving. And Frank, he would have his dentures out, and he would say, "What the fuck is he doing?" What is this guy doing? And we were just like, I don't know, man. He's just friendly, man. He's waving at you, Frank. And it you know how he was. Older wrestler gets irritated at anything, but it irritated the shit out of him, and I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, I love Frank, man. He was awesome.
Yeah. Very funny stuff, though, man. I'll never forget that, man. Just you turning your light on with that big smile and just waving every time we'd pass you.
Yeah, I had a sense of humor. Oh my God, I'm not gonna lie. I even make fun of myself quite a few times. So
yes, but man, what a great run we had there, man. I think it was, I don't know, a couple of months that you filled in, and again, what an awesome job, man, you did in that role. And as I said, I don't think people can understand that you can't just put, like in a situation like that, you can't just put anybody there and hope it works. But that's what we did. We put you in there and we hoped it worked, and it fucking worked magnificently. I can't put you over enough for what a great worker you are too, man. I mean, your wrestling skills are off the charts, and you just filled in and fucking did it, man. It was awesome, man. Because to be frank, man, we were all like, man, what are we going to do? And can this guy do it? Can what's going to happen here? You know, and you could have, honestly, because as I said, this was a point in me and Jamie's career where this was kind of a launching point for us. So it could have failed, and PG-13 might have never been what they were had you not have done the job that you did. And I thank you for that.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. Oh my God, even there, I thought you guys were really way ahead of your time. Honestly,
thank you.
PG-13, and even to this day, you know, so I see so many people in the business emulate what you guys did before, right? So it's just.
We talk about that quite a bit, Stro.
Right?
I mean, it's just true. It is just true. You know, there's so much there about their gimmick that, I mean, one of the biggest guys in the world, John Cena. I mean, he, you know, literally is the PG-13 gimmick down to the rapping, you know, so.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, Wolfie went viral on his show because of saying that. So we've kind of had that out there for a minute. But anyway.
No, awesome, man. So I'll tell you this, man. Before or after that happened, I feel like I kind of, you know, we lost contact. That's how it works in the business. And then all of a sudden you appeared in WCW as the Stro and whatnot. What was in between that?
Oh my gosh, what an adventure that was. Well, I went to Puerto Rico for a little while with Carlos, right? And which was another learning experience too, because oh my God, they're so old school down there. I mean,
yeah,
the island. I mean, they are like the fans on there are diehard. Dare I say, too diehard? like the movie, right?
I got plenty of stories.
Oh my God. and you know, getting to debris, being the only true blonde guy on the island, And they're like throwing stuff at spark plugs and everything, and you know, you're like hiding underneath the baby face and going, thank you, because they're like protecting you from the debris, right? They're throwing at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was their TV's so strong down there, and I did ended up doing 2 tours down there in Puerto Rico, Carlos, and I had, and during one of the times I was in Puerto Rico, I got the call, right, from and I'm in this condo, right, with Val Venus, Sean Morley, right, and Rex King, which Rex King was always asleep somewhere.
I love Rex.
Yeah, right. So, oh God, me too. But Sean and I were watching E-Television one day because I pick on him because he liked Elizabeth Berkley at the time, right? And I would rib him, about how every lady in the world was much better, much prettier than she was. But I get hot too, like, no, stop, So one day we're watching TV and he gets a call, right, from Randy Savage, right, Macho Man, and wanting to talk to me, right, and so he's like cupping the phone, he's looking at me like wide-eyed, and I'm like, well, who is it? It's Randy Savage. He wants to talk to you. I'm like, get out of here, right? Stop it. I think it's ribbon, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I calls up and just, hey, how you doing? It's Randy. Oh, really? So it turns out now, Jerry Jarrett got him to get a hold of me, and for him and Hogan to talk to me about bringing me in, right? Mm-hmm. And so they flew me from Puerto Rico to one of the nitros there, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, they gave me a tryout match with Jeff Farmer, who was the NWO Sting, right? Later on, and they were going to bring Lanny. They were going to work out a deal where Lanny was going to take my Gorgeous George name and bring me under in as another persona per se. Mm. And believe it or not, they were considering putting me on Thunder in Paradise as Reverend Headlock. A guy dressed in all white with a book in his hand, and because they saw when I came in, I had a Bible in my hand, right? And they try to put two, but I just wanted to ride the boat, man. I didn't care if they were going to, what they did with me on the show. I just wanted to ride they had a cool boat at the time, if you recall, they used for the show. And I just wanted, it was so cool. But neither that or the Laney deal transpired. So I just went back to, doing my thing. And I went to Mexico of AAA with Jake the Snake Roberts. Mm-hmm. And we got the main event Triple Mania that year. And dead of summer. But it's like their equivalent of WrestleMania, right? It was so cool. Yeah. They had a lot of pageantry. They had a ballet for every wrestling gimmick on the show, right? Yeah. And it was a good learning experience, with the luchadors and everything. Which was the cool thing is a lot of the guys I got to meet later on in WCW when I got in, right? So after my tour in Mexico, I did some tours, matches in Texas, hung out with Jake for a bit, and then I got the call again from Macho Man to have another tryout match, and this time around it was with Chavo Guerrero Jr., man.
Yeah.
And I could not be any happier because, the Guerreros, one of the great wrestling family, and oh, God. And I remember we all used to pray together before the matches, Hector was there and everything. And,
that's awesome.
So we get in the back, right? And everybody's like, all the agents, you know how these agents are, right? They'll say everybody has a different story, right? And you don't know who to believe. And I thought back to my grandpa, right? He always told me, give me advice when I was younger. He said, always know who the boss is, right?
Yeah.
So all these agents doing their thing. Then Eric Bischoff walks in, and he says, great match, guys. Chavo, myself, and he looks at me and says, we could use a good talent like you. Welcome aboard. And as soon as he says that, all the agents change their tunes, oh, great match, that was awesome, and all this. And I knew right then if I had a problem, I knew who the boss was. I knew who to go to, right?
Exactly.
And then you had Dallas Page, you had Arn Anderson, you had all the boys. They're welcoming you in the company. It was just, it was like winning the Super Bowl, man. It was a really great feeling.
Very cool. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Let's rewind just a second, though, because Robbie Eagle actually worked for Smoky Mountain. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about Smoky Mountain, man, because me and Jamie went up there. We had the, Smoky Mountain versus USWA feud. I don't think, my memory is horrible now. I don't think you were there at the time, but tell me about working for Smoky Mountain and Cornette, because I've got plenty of Cornette stories, and some of them I will go to my grave with, but we won't talk about that. But tell me about
No, let's talk about that, actually.
No, don't, Jimmy.
Oh my, they gave me the name Robbie Eagle. I mean, because they saw me in the Letterman's jacket with the medals, which was a shoot. And I had some big supporters at the time, Ricky and Robert, Tracy.
That's awesome.
And it was really cool. It was, Kevin Sullivan was there, and the thing is, Kevin and I have crossed paths through the years, right? And he's always been a big supporter. And I kind of wished I'd come to him for more advice, honestly, because he's like an encyclopedia, man. He's amazing.
Oh yeah.
But like, yeah, man, it was such a cool time because back then Smokey had it was my first big territory, actually, because I did some independents prior, but this was like the first big territory, I got to learn from, right? And there was so many guys to learn from. Oh my God, there was, some of the names I just mentioned, Dirty White Boy, Tony Antley, Fuller, Golden, Tennessee Stud Stable. I mean, Ronnie Garvin, Paul Orndorff. I mean, it was like Smoky Mountain at that time was the liaison between WCW and WWE. They were like pulling talent, you know what I mean? Yeah. In between. So it was just a great time for it to be there where I was at, so I could learn, man. And I learned so much. Being on a learning tree with all those greats, man, and the Armstrongs. Oh my God, the Armstrongs.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, man.
It was amazing time.
You gotta love the Armstrongs. Some of my probably my favorite family in wrestling, man. Loved every one of them. And still talk to, name drop Road Dogg all the time, man. That's my love him to death. And a great family. His father was good to me, and his brothers, and love those people, man. But Cornette could go off on a rampage. Do you have a Cornette rampage story?
Oh God. Let's see. Well, he would treat the boys great, right? But man, he would give that production hell. Because I remember we were giggling. We would put our ears to the wall in the next room and hear Cornette just go off in production. And I remember one time he's like yelling at me, he's screaming, he's going, "What do you think these things are? Tonka toys?" I just like fell out laughing, tears in my eyes.
He's a character, man. He's such a character. But what a fucking, I mean, I know people, and I think that's his gimmick now, is to make people mad at him. But he is so fucking smart to the wrestling business. I mean, he's an encyclopedia, first of all, but then also he's just a great mind for the business. And hell, if I was starting a company, he'd be one of the first people that I'd want to be on my booking committee.
Oh gosh, hands down. He's even got receipts from house shows from years back.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing.
I used to stay at his house when I worked for OVW. I used to stay there every Wednesday, man. And his collection of wrestling tapes and just wrestling everything is like, wow, man. Learned
pretty a lot, amazing.
That is, yeah. So you, Mr. Eagle, Mr. Stro, Mr. George, you are from my neck of the woods. So you are a Mid-Atlantic kid. I am also a Mid-Atlantic kid. I grew up on the Mid-Atlantic stuff. And, of course, now I've sat under the learning tree of Wolfie D and become a Memphisite, where I now am torn between which is my favorite, but my childhood was always the Mid-Atlantic. And I look at the guys that brought you in, and let me preface this real quick here. Wolfie D and I, like Wolfie says, we kind of jump around because that's just the way our minds are, I guess. And so if we go back a little bit further than Smoky Mountain now, I'm just going to make it work, right? So with that being said, Nelson Royal, Gene Anderson, Ivan Koloff, oh my gosh, that's like the Mount Rushmore for some people. You know what I mean? Those guys were so great. In fact, I often go to Nelson Royal's boot store a lot just to look for boots or hats, and then he's got that NWA junior title on the wall. Man, talk about those guys real quick, Stro.
Oh my gosh, what a learning experience that was, and I was kayfabing being collegiate wrestling at the time, right?
Yeah.
And when I started, everybody had the size advantage over me because when you collegiate wrestle, it's like training like a track star. You always constant cardio. So I was like so lean at the time, but I was keeping that separated because if they found out I was trying to be a pro wrestler, they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
But yeah, so much knowledge, man. I remember like one of the first tapes I studied because they had me watch tapes as well. The training. I mean, and I thought I was in shape too, being a collegiate wrestler. But man, boy, was I being that type of shape and pro wrestling shape is a totally different world, brother.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But I remember. Like, here's a funny story for you. So I'm in the ring, right? And Gene Anderson, he's outside the ring. He's got like some Bojangles chicken, a Diet Pepsi.
Oh yeah,
and
that's the Carolinas,
right? And he's looking at his wrestle kid, right? And I'm thinking, well, I didn't know what type of wrestling he wanted me to do, right? So I threw the most screwed up drop kick you can imagine. It was the shit. It really was. And he's like, "No, kid, wrestle." And then the light bulb came on my head. Oh, wrestle, right? So I bow and arrowed, small package the guy. That was it. And they ribbed the guy I was in the ring with. Right, and Ken Shamrock was in there. He thought it was the funniest thing ever, right?
Hold on, what did you just say? Who was in there?
Ken Shamrock, Thompson, a few other names you probably recognize that were in the mix.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and this is before he went off to do the MMA stuff, like with Japan, with Pride Fighting and all that.
Pancrase and all that. Yeah.
Because he was in a promotion at the time called South Atlantic.
Okay.
With Ricky Steamboat and a few others, and
yeah.
But I mean, I remember it was cool because I remember Johnny Weaver would stop by and say hello, and
Holy
Johnny
crap.
Weaver. Yeah. And I was actually at the bit where remember they did the scene where Baby Doll turned on Dusty and like took off of the horse.
Uh-huh.
I was at that part of Nelson Royal's ranch at that time, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
We had the campfire scene with Dusty and Nelson Royal. This Baby Doll ran over me and took my credit card, baby. But yeah.
So
but yeah,
that's funny, man. I did not know that about you as far as the collegiate wrestling and stuff. I knew you, like, just working with you, I knew you had skills as far as very technical and all that kind of stuff. And I wrestled in high school like a year and a half before, because I got in the business when I was 15. So I quit school, quit wrestling and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to say thank you for not stretching me, man.
Oh. That's all right, brother. I found it was a work. Working's a lot better than.
Absolutely. I've got stories, man, of people that one or two different people that knew I wrestled in high school and would try to test me in the ring and stuff like that.
Oh,
it didn't work out well for him, but I'm afraid that you probably would have got me.
No, I totally get it, because there for the longest time. Yeah, I would get advice. One of the guys I would get advice from was the legendary Luthez. Yeah. Like, I would call him and ask for advice when I first started the business.
That's the dude, man. That's the dude right there.
There was a time where I was very protective of myself because certain guys try to take liberties, and I would have to give him a reality check, right?
Yeah.
And it was just being protective, I wasn't trying to be a prick or anything. I was just trying to be protective because you just know who was out for your best interest or not in the business, right?
Right.
And believe it or not, one guy I have to thank for letting me know there's actually boys out there that want to work and want to help better race. So was Bobby Blaze.
Oh yeah.
Bobby,
Okay.
Yeah. Bobby Blaze was a big help in that, and he came. He was trained by Malenko too. So I mean, he got it. He understood. That mentality that I had at the time. So yeah, he was a big help and kind of letting me know, hey, there's those of us too that just want to work.
Possibly, you could have gotten the business earlier if you been born earlier. Just hypothetical, you could have been what they used to call a policeman.
Yes, it's true. It was a funny story actually. One time I'm at a club area after the show, right? And I just got clocked in the head with the Blues Brothers with a chair, which they apologized later.
Ron and Don.
Ron and Don, yeah.
Oh man.
And Brian Lee stuck up for me, right? He said, "Man, what'd you try to hurt my boy for, right?" I said, "Oh man, I'm sorry." But it was a total accident, right? But I had a big old goose egg on my head. I had a beer bottle. I wasn't drinking it. I was putting it on my head, so like ice, and I saw this gang trying to start a fight with some of the boys.
Yeah.
That night, and I'm trying to rest, man, but at the bar, but I'm watching this about to go down. I'm like, oh, screw it, right? Yeah. So I walk over there. I get right in between them, right? And I looked at that gang and said, if you're going to fight someone, fight me, because I just don't care. I got a good thing. I'm hurt. Whatever. Just add another notch on the list, right? And I got in this amateur wrestling stance, like I'm ready to go, right? And it was just that night. They always took me wherever they went because they knew I'd look out for everybody.
Yeah, well, that's a thing to be said. Were you there the night? And I wasn't. I've just heard the stories, and obviously Brian Lee was one of my tag team partners in TNA, and worked with Ron and Don numerous times. You don't want to fuck with any one of those three, so that's something to say that those three would like to have you with them.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, yeah, that's how we all bonded. You know what I mean? It was good times ever since.
Wolfie, you said something just a minute ago. Explain what a policeman means.
A policeman was the guy that the promoter, if they had a problem with somebody or needed to have an attitude adjustment, they had a policeman usually that would go out there and stretch you and adjust your attitude.
Would you say that was like George Weingroff maybe would have been a policeman?
George could have been a good policeman, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It was a funny story for you as far as that goes. There was one time, I think it was Virginia somewhere. I'm thinking, I'm not sure, but there was this guy that was doing the whole Ultimate Warrior thing. He really thought he was Hellwig and would just go off, and he was giving some of the boys a hard time. So they put me with him, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I give everybody in the ring a benefit of the doubt, and we'll see what they can do, right? So I'm in there, and this guy, he was all right in the beginning. Then he starts in the middle of the match flipping out. Crazy. And then that's when I kind of winked at the referee because the referee was smart. I mean, knew what was up, right? Yeah. So I just snatched the guy and just did a release German suplex and knocked him out. And everybody, like Cornette and boys in the back, you hear him cheering, right? and the referee ringed the match off, and I remember I set, how you sit the guy up and smack him, revive him and that type of it. So I'm trying to come to, he's coming to, right? And he literally looks at the referee and says, "What happened?" And the referee, "The match is over."
So listen, I lost my train of thought a minute ago. I was going somewhere with something, and I do that.
Okay.
But so there was a night that I've heard of many times in Smoky Mountain where I guess there was a high school football team or something that tried to fight maybe Ron and Don, and I just remember the stories of them just going through the crowd and just kicking the shit out of everybody. Were you there? Do you know anything about that?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know if I was at that particular show, but I did hear about it because I don't know if it was probably one or two shows after.
Yeah.
I was probably on that I heard about. Oh, but man, yeah, that was like the talk of the whole locker room.
Yeah. And man, you know what's funny, man, is I used to love working with them. A lot of people, didn't or whatever, but Ronnie was one way, Donnie was the party guy, and I got along with both of them. Just saw Ronnie actually at Ric Flair's last match, because he runs the Municipal Auditorium now. But anyway, Donnie used to come, and Ronnie too. They'd come tell me, they'd be like, "Man, I love working with you, man." And I'm like, "Really? Why?" It's like, "Because you're fucking not scared to hit us." He said, "Everybody's scared to hit us, and you're not. You fucking lay it in."
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest compliment. I'm like, "Well, fuck you." I didn't say this, but I'm thinking, "Well, fuck, you're gonna hit me, so I'm hitting you back, motherfucker."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're great.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D. Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, "Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star?" Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, bowiehomes.com. That's BUIE homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Was the Gorgeous George, was that really, now, okay, when I do my research, inadvertently, I always end up looking at Wikipedia. And obviously, Wikipedia is like 50-50 on correctness, you know what I mean? So is Gorgeous George a shoot great uncle for you?
Yeah, yes. And here's a story in itself. I didn't find out till later on when I started in business that I was related to him.
Wow.
But I had people, like I had Dusty Rhodes, William Regal, literally come to me and said that my style would remind them a lot of Gorgeous George, right? And then it just snowballed, all these different people coming at me like this. And so I went to my grandpa one day, and I told him the situation. I was like, all these people saying I remind them of Gorgeous George. What do you think's going on here? And he just looks at me, right? And he says, "You didn't know?" And I'm like, "Didn't know what, Grandpa?"
Didn't know?
And he smartens me up, right? That he was my granduncle, and they were amateur boxing buddies back in the day before he broke into business, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, this floored me, and that's what inspired me to do more research and just, use the name Gorgeous George III at the time in honor and retrospect of him, and everything just fell into place,
Yeah. Have you learned anything about him as you've gone on knowing that now? Is there anything interesting? Because, I mean, dude, I hate to say it, but he's one of those. I mean, if you drew up a legendary all-time name, you would probably have George, Thez, Hogan, maybe Flair, that kind of thing, as far as all-time names of that will live forever in infamy or in history. I'm trying to say, Gorgeous George. Have you learned anything interesting about him that you could share with us that maybe not the normal listener would know about him?
Oh my God! When I dived into his history, it was just like it's because of him that pro wrestling's on the TV map.
Yeah,
I mean, he was the first guy to transcend from wrestling to Hollywood.
Right.
And led to that era, and to meet like people like Muhammad Ali, and then James Brown, who I did the pay-per-view with in WCW, were telling me stories about Gorgeous George and everything, and it was just it's just surreal how many people that he affected over the years, that inspired and all that. Not just wrestling, but beyond that, in sports and entertainment and everything. So I mean, it's just the more and more I knew about the guy, I was like, man, it's incredible. And I mean, there can never be I mean, there's only one Gorgeous George of that time, right? But it would inspire you to be a trendsetter and to like be a difference maker like he was. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I mean, because you had most guys out there, they were in their shooter boots and woolies, and that was it. No knee pads, no anything else, no wrist tape or anything like that. But then you had Gorgeous George with a valet and with a robe and with the atomizer. I mean, just so original, literally stood out. I would almost say was the first superstar, wouldn't you say, of pro wrestling? I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, I know you could go back to Gotch and Hackenschmidt and all that, but what I mean is like the guy that really made a gimmick, I guess,
Pretty much so, because the other guys you mentioned, I mean, they were great in their own right? But I mean,
of course.
As far as the flamboyancy and the camaraderie and the pageantry, Gorgeous George definitely be the OG, if you will.
Yeah, the OG. Yeah, exactly. And to know that you were related, that's just a trip, dude, because then you end up working that gimmick. And I mean, to me, that's because you look like him when you're in that. I mean, I can see him in that look of you. Because I mean, the first time I ever saw you wrestle, you were Robbie Eagle, and it was in Smoky Mountain. That's the first time I got to see Jeff Daniels and Chris Michaels and so many other guys, is because I was that Mid-Atlantic kid that when NWA Jim Crockett went away, obviously I'm still looking for that old school Smoky high school gymnasium wrestling, and that was what Smoky Mountain filled for us, because that was what we loved. And obviously WCW, I saw you work Sting on a Saturday night or two here and there, but Robbie Eagle, I remember you, then you're working this Gorgeous George. How did you go in your mind? How did you go from Robbie Eagle to Gorgeous George? How did that work mentally for you?
Well, the late Moondog Spot, Larry, right?
Yeah.
He was the guy that broke the ice, with Lawler and Dundee, Regal, and myself. You bring me in from Memphis, right? He was the guy that kind of started all. And he told me he was going to do it, right? Yeah. And I'm always been a firm believer of. Well, I was told a long time ago, if you're going to go into something, you got to go into something full throttle. No half-assing it. I mean, you got to like become the deal, right? I mean, it's like, so I mean, I went both feet in, did my research, and I remember there were times that Jake Roberts said this. One of my good friends to this day says this, right? When he first met me, right, as Gorgeous George, right, I was having people doing stuff for me, right, carry my bags and do stuff and like give me chairs and all this. And at first he's like, man, what an arrogant prick. then he got to think, he said, man, this guy's working me. He got to talk to me. I got to say this. Wolfie, you remember that the time they actually, when they were getting started with the Smoky Mountain Wrestling USWA feud, right?
Yeah.
At the time, and we were involved. We were in a tag match on TV, right?
Yeah.
It was a Pat Tanaka, and well, they were doing this thing where the Smoky Mountain guys came in and bum rushed this match, right?
Right.
And I'm looking at all this at the time. I was like, I was kind of perplexed because I wasn't really not sure. I was, what to do
on here,
right? But I got to thinking, well, hell, I used to be a Smoky Mountain wrestling guy. So I'll just fit right in, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, that was a total on the fly deal, that was because, I mean, I just. When Robert came in, Hildebrand, and everybody else, oh my God,
those are fun times, man. Those are absolutely great stuff. Great stuff. Let's go back again. I want to talk about Ivan Koloff. Tell me about training with him.
Oh man, he was amazing, and I wish more people could have known this side of Ivan. He was like one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet.
I've always heard that, and unfortunately, I never met him, never got to work with him or anything. And I hate that, but I watched him as a kid. But just what kind of trainer was he? Was he, you hear about people that got trained by Tojo and shit, and Tojo would beat you with the fucking kendo stick and blah.
Yeah.
What kind of trainer was Ivan?
Oh yeah, Ivan was great. I mean, very old school. Big on the fundamentals, and he was just, and he would take time to show things to you, and very supportive. But it was one of those guys who like bring out the best in you, and even to the day that he retired, he was a machine, man. He was still taking slams off the top rope and just
yeah.
I'll give you an example. A story one time with Road Dogg. Had a match with him a while back, right? And he was looking forward to, being in the ring with Ivan, right? And they had a great match, right? And after the match, I remember Road Dogg come back to me, man, that old man blew me up. I didn't really have that much endurance. Because I was trying to tell him, beforehand, Ivan can go, man, but yeah, what a great guy! And I just, you would have loved Ivan, man. And I just wish, everybody known him for that raspy voice, scary, intimidating voice they had. But if more people knew that other side of Ivan, man, I think he'd be even bigger than he is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And then let's jump back forward, because I call it in the ring and I jump around whenever it feels right. So where did the Maestro thing come from? Whose idea was this, and how did that happen?
Okay. Well, for a year now, I've been Gorgeous George with WCW, right?
Yeah.
TV tapings down Orlando and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Right.
Now, all of a sudden, Macho Man wants to give his new valet the Gorgeous George name.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. Wow.
I was just as perplexed as everybody else was at the time. So
I bet you were.
So once again, knowing who the boss was,
right?
I called Eric Bischoff, and he set up a meeting there in Atlanta, and we got to hash out a few things, because I still wanted to make things right with the company, because I was signed and everything else. So we get together, and they got wind of my I used to be in theater before I got into wrestling, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was in Macbeth, Shakespeare, Hamlet. I was in, the Cats and Broadway thing at the time too.
Nice. Okay. There you go.
And
it all makes sense now.
It does. Yeah.
So it kind of put everything together, and the Maestro was born. And matter of fact, Dusty, another guy was been supportive, like Kevin, he was all for it, and with Maestro was more or less, it had similarities to the Gorgeous George persona.
Yeah.
More or less. So it wasn't far-fetched from what I was doing before. So my vision in the Maestro didn't really come out till later on in its run, where I envisioned the Maestro being more of a fan of the opera type, had like a dark side.
Phantom of the Opera,
Fan of the opera.
Yeah.
Which had a darker side to him, like if a certain thing would set him off, you know what I mean?
That would have been
and
great.
In my case, been bad music, and it came out later on during my WCW run with Ernest the Cat Miller and Buff Bagwell and all that in my latter days. But yeah, I mean, and in turn, I had a decent run, Maestro. I mean, it was like Chris Jericho and we're all taking tricks to see who could make our gimmicks the goofiest, right? Yeah. And our thought process was, the more outlandish we can make our personas, if you will. I hate using the word characters, by the way. because we, you know, we live what we do. We live what we do, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the more outlandish we make our personas, the more they couldn't kill us off. They'd be afraid we're making anything entertaining, right? So
makes sense.
You know, I got to say this real quick since we're talking about the Maestro. Recently, we had Ryan Von Rocket on. Are you familiar with him, Stro?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
He's in OVW. He's Ryan Howe. He's a shoot guitar player, actually a shredder. He comes out. He was on Tough Enough season 5. And so I go down the list, all the musical characters. I say like Van Hammer, Jeff Jarrett, Honky Tonk Man, Maestro, you know, Man Mountain Rock, you know, the Rick Boogs. And he said, I've got to go with Maestro. So he voted you. He's one of the most, you know, active rock and roll musical gimmicks going these days, and he voted you number 1, Maestro. So there you go.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. I wish him all the best.
Yeah. Ryan's awesome. Big fan of him. So you've got the acting gigs going now. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been told that you look like Rutger Hauer?
That's the first, but I'll take it. I'm a huge Rutger Hauer fan.
Yeah, who isn't, right? Blade Runner. I mean, come on. But the guy, you look so much like him in my mind, man. It's like I was looking at photos to put promo images together for the episode, and I'm like, this dude looks like Rutger Hauer. I never picked up on that. And I'm sorry. Anyway, I hope that's a compliment to you, brother. So,
oh, absolutely.
Talk about your acting gigs. Yeah, you're welcome. Talk about your acting gigs. I'm excited to hear about this.
Well, you just it's like wrestling and theater helped me tremendously with the acting. There's so many similarities. You know, like for example, for a match, you use little things to make a match better, and the same thing we do in scenes in a film. I mean, they're so stickler on little things to make every scene be bigger than before, right? And just like we do in matches, right? It's all storytelling,
right?
And it's just amazing to me how much. I mean, of course, there's some differences. You know, we can cut from a scene where in the match, you know, the show must go on, right? just like theater, right?
Yeah,
it's the same way.
Right.
So, but the same token, there's so many similarities, man, and it's all part of storytelling. And it's amazing how things are so like, no matter how different they are, they're so intertwined. And it's like I tell people, you know, being in pro wrestling, you know, you learn so much about life.
Oh yeah.
And art and everything else. And you know, this is art imitates life. Life imitates art. It's all intertwined for the same, and that's the same way in the film world, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, when some people complain about winning and losing and all that. I mean, when you go to a film, you don't have to complain about a part because you die. You know, you make the best of that scene, right? You know, and people that, you know, have great deaths, they end up becoming great actors. Just like, for example, I'll give you Mick Foley, for example. Some of the greatest matches he's had, he's lost.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So, I mean, it's all intertwined. It's just amazing to me how wrestling and the entertainment world are just so entrenched in each other, man.
Oh yeah. And I've always said this too, man, and I'm sure you can relate. You know, it's like if you tell people, you know, I was a pro wrestler or I am a pro wrestler or whatever, their eyes light up and they want to ask questions and stuff. Like I feel like, and I've said this 100 times, I could say to somebody, yeah, I used to be an astronaut, and they'd be like, oh, cool. But you say, I'm a professional wrestler. What? Whoa, wait. And then this whole conversation. It's like, something that people just don't, I guess, see every day or something. I don't know. It's like one of the coolest things to even people that aren't really fans. They want to know about it.
Right, and that's how powerful wrestling is, man. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is absolutely cool. Yeah, I was just looking down your list there. You've kind of played all kinds of parts. I saw you were on Sleepy Hollow. That's pretty cool, man, you know. And You know, we've been trying to work out ways for, you know, Wolfie, of course, PG-13 didn't get to be on the Young Rock. You know, they missed an opportunity there with the Young Rock getting PG-13 involved there, but we're going to get Wolfie on as a superhero somehow. We're trying to work on that. Since all the other OVW guys are superheroes now, we need Wolfie D in a Marvel movie, you know, so.
Yes.
Have your people talk to his people.
Right. I definitely want to see Wolfie D.
I almost got on. Luke Hawks had me a spot on Heels, and budget cuts or something right at the end. I got canceled, but whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised, really, because I know I got to see Sergeant Slaughter again not too long ago, and he was telling me about he had to deal with that Young Rock thing.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to see PG-13. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, they had a few Memphis episodes when they would have been there, and it just kind of felt like they were missing. There was
I'm telling you why. It's because
I know
for a fact that he don't like Jamie. Me and him also had a little altercation one time, and it was nothing big. But hey, he fucking replaced Shawn Michaels with a black dude. So what is that?
Yeah. So
he doesn't hold grudges.
Yeah, he does hold grudges. Yeah. He doesn't play around when it comes to that. So for sure. So let me ask you this real quick. Did you know a guy named Ken Steele from Virginia? He was a wrestler. Kenny Pat.
That sounds familiar. I'm trying to place the face of the name there.
Yeah, he was a big guy, but he brought me into the business. I was just going to see if he was trained by a guy named Eclipso and that kind of
Eclipso.
stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Eclipso. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he was from that area, Floyd, Virginia area, and Ken Steele was his name. But anyway, he
Ken Steele. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, he brought me in, but he actually passed away a couple years ago. But he always spoke so highly of you. He was like, Rob's a good guy, you know.
Yeah, I did some NWA Mountain State shows with him.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all kind of around that Boogie Wrestling Academy guys up there, you know. So it's though they're not directly related, but it was really cool to meet Jimmy Valiant and Boris Zukov at the same time and get to talk to all those dudes. I'm sure you know both of them well. So
yeah, Jimmy's great, man. I went to a school one time. They did a tribute to me.
Yeah.
I mean, his school is amazing. Oh,
isn't it cool? It's like a Hall of Fame in itself. I mean, you know, so Jimmy's awesome because Jimmy's one of those guys that you just like, holy crap, this dude is so legendary. You know what I mean? He's just like Ivan, like Gene, like, you know, all those guys. It's just so legendary to even think about. And then he's just this guy standing right there, and you're just like, this dude's been everywhere, you know? So
all over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
Rolling into Memphis TWA.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a classic. Oh, man.
It is. It is. Because he did that. I mean, honestly, the Memphis character, Jimmy, was so much cooler than Boogie Woogie because Boogie was kind of like a comedy, entertain the kids. Handsome Jimmy was just like a totally different dude, man. And it was like a biker, rock star kind of thing, you know? And then he comes to Boogie, and I get it, man. He changed his gimmick and it worked. But it was like, I wished I would have seen Handsome a little more, you know?
And I know you remember Super Mario that ran around with Jimmy back in the day.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my goodness, man. That was the first time I ever got to work Jimmy, but it was a tag match, obviously, and Mario was his problem, or his
Freudian slip.
Partner, problem, whatever. Jamie's been my problem for years, but anyway, so funny. But yeah, I just remember Super Mario, and man, what a character he is. And you know, not the greatest worker in the world, but he would shoot. He'd say, "I give you the belly, and then the whoop-de-whoop, and the whoop-de-whoop was he'd spank you."
Oh God, yeah, I remember I had the match with him in Louisville Gardens when they had the Legend show.
Yes.
And oh man, and gosh.
Yeah, your style and his are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Very much so. I mean, I remember clotheslining him, right?
Yeah.
And all I saw was his feet just like I don't know, was his body when he hit is like his feet disappeared. And I was like, oh, bless his heart.
The belly, then the whoop-de-whoop.
That's hilarious.
He had a cool Italian restaurant, though. You remember that?
I do remember that. I'd never eaten there or anything, but I'd always heard about it.
Right, yeah.
Is he still living?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe. I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a character, man. Definitely, for sure.
I saw him on one of Jimmy's shows in Virginia, and there was a match, and the biggest thing that I remember about it was Jimmy Valiant had gotten a tattoo on his forehead,
Yeah.
and that had he changed his look a little, and then Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham wrestled in the main event, and the top rope broke, and all you could hear was Barry and Dustin cussing about everything. It was just like they were so angry, because if you think about it, what are those guys, like 6'6", easy? Like 6'7", 6. So they're throwing each other and trying to bounce off the second. It was just, everything was modified. Yeah. But anyway, that's when the only time I've ever seen the Super Mario guy there. So anyway.
That is hilarious. Hey, man, it has been awesome catching up with you, man. Can you tell the people, what do you got on social media? What do you got going on? Here's your time, man. Plug away.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, my official website is thestro.com, THESTRO.com. On Facebook at Stro the Maestro, Twitter @thestro. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stro Maestro. I got a new horror sci-fi comedy series out on Amazon Prime Video now called Stro Sinister Cinema, which
It's
you can
called
check
what?
out. Stro Sinister Cinema, and each letter starts with an S.
Okay.
Nice. Nice.
And it's on Amazon Prime now. You can check it out.
Yeah. All the time.
Okay.
Man. I find a lot of hidden gems on Prime.
And with also I have I'm also in a drama on Amazon Prime called Son of Clowns.
Okay.
As well, and I have a spy series coming out, which you can see episodes of it on YouTube called Hybrid.
Okay.
That's coming out soon. And I'm also played Dr. Arkham in a DC fan film called The Devil's Daughter: Harlequin Story.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
You can watch that
I'm
on
going to be expecting
YouTube.
a phone call from you. Get me in. Yeah.
I think you might make a good Bane. Let's get Wolfie as Bane.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And it's got all the Batman characters in it. It's got Batman, Scarecrow, Joker, Poison Ivy, and of course I play Dr. Arkham, who runs the asylum.
Definitely. I'm excited to see that for sure.
You can watch that on YouTube for free.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, hey, I like free too.
All right, cool, man. Hey, like I said, I want to reiterate to you the impact that you had coming into Memphis in a weird position. And I mean, I tell people this, man. You came in, you stepped up, and you helped us more than you really realize. And I appreciate that, and I thank you for it. You've always been a cool guy to me, and I hope the best for you and all this stuff you're doing. And it's just been a pleasure talking to you, man.
Oh, Cindy, always a pleasure. And you guys helped me just as much, trust me. So many ways. I can't thank you guys enough.
No, thank you, man. So, Jimmy, let me guess. We got current affairs coming up after the break, right?
Actually, no. And
what?
It's Ask Wolfie D anything. Yeah, we're on a streak. Yes, I know. They want to ask you questions, bro.
Oh,
That's all I can say. So, DJ, hit the music.
right, we are back with a little bit of Ask Wolfie D Anything, and today I think we've got some good ones. You know, there's some well-represented ones. Now, the first two actually came from our YouTube page, Wolfie D. So if you all haven't gone to our YouTube page, it's youtube.com/@livewolfied. Just like all the other socials, you go on there, and we're starting to put more stuff. We're doing more clips. We're doing reels, shorts, all that good stuff. We're putting some of the old shows up. We're really
Quit saying we, because I got to put you over here, man. You do it all, and you know that, man. I tell everybody, and honestly, in the past couple of days, I've had more than one person contact me saying, "Hey, man, how do you do this? And how do you do that?" Not just Jamie and his guy, but some other people, man. And I'm like, listen, I don't do anything but talk and book guests. That's about all I do. So if you got questions about all that, I'm not your guy. It's Jimmy. Jimmy does everything. He works hard.
Thank you, man. Well, you had the 30-year career, and so we'll give you some, props on that for sure. I mean, with that, anyway, it ain't the Live and in Color with Jimmy Street, because the listenership would drop immensely. So
I don't know.
Immensely.
They like you, Jimmy. They like you, and they know what you're doing.
I like them too, and I like you, and I like this first question here because I've never heard this one before in my life, and I thought I'd heard them all. This one is Bill Xmas on YouTube. All right. So wish someone would ask about PG-13 shooting on the gangstas and stretch them into learning to work. He doesn't recall if D-Lo was still with Jerome and Mustafa. What's this all about, man?
I have no clue. That's not a thing. That's not a thing.
Okay, never did that. Never stretched them.
Not to my recollection. We were cool with them, so I don't know when or where that would have happened, but I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. And Mr. Christmas, I mean, I'd like to know wherever you got that information. Not calling you a liar, but I am asking where did you hear that at? Because I don't think that's a thing.
Okay. Because, I mean, you would know, right?
Yeah, and New Jack would stab you. So, I mean, it's like...
Yeah. I was, when
Mustafa's a big dude, man. I mean...
Yeah, seriously. I was writing that down, and I was like, stretch them into learning to work? Oh, my God. Because this is New Jack. This is... I mean, this is not... These are not cream puffs. You know what I mean? No.
Who are not scared to go, outside the wrestling business lines at all.
Right. Yeah, they might shoot in the working sense too. So anyway, so long story short, Bill, sorry, man. Hey, whoever told you that's not correct, but this is where we clear stuff up too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's fine. I swear, I forget stuff, but I feel like I'd remember that.
Yeah, you're not forgetting stretching the gangstas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is curiously, where did he hear that? Anyway, All right. Well, sorry, Bill. Next guy is Brando Lee from YouTube. Once again, another YouTube listener. Thank you so much. Do you remember from maybe 1997-ish, you versus Flash Flanagan at IWA in Lexington? About 80 to 100 people were there. You pile drive Flash through 2 stacked tables in the ring. Do you remember that?
Ooh, in Lexington?
That's what it's saying.
Tennessee or Kentucky?
Well, this would be for IWA Mid-South, I would assume.
That would be Ian's stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was always in Louisville. I don't know if I ever worked for him in Lexington. And I'm sure me and Flash have done something like that. Again, I just saw a match recently that somebody posted on
which was
social
incredible.
Media. It was me and Flash against the Dudleys, and I have no recollection of that match, but it was good, and I don't know why I don't remember it, but it's just, man, I swear it's crazy. I've said it before. I mean, just when you've had so many matches, when you wrestle almost every day of the week for that many years and all these different places and stuff, some of it just goes by the wayside, man. I don't know how much that is contributed to, just getting older, or just it was another day at the office, or, I don't know, or just being hit in the head, or who knows.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize again. I hate it when I don't know the answer. I mean, I am sure I've pile driven flash through 2 tables somewhere somehow. I mean, that probably happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds correct. I mean, the one about the gangsters and stretching them, that is not a possibility.
Yeah,
but the flash going through 2 stacked tables with a pile driver, which you said you never really liked your pile driver. But
no, but doing it through a table is a little different too.
Yeah, doing it through a table and doing it to flash is different.
Yeah, because according to him, I didn't take care of him at all, ever. I just dropped him on his head all the time.
Yeah. So, one thing I was just going to, while we're talking about Flash, we should bring Flash on and do a watch along of that Dudley's match. That would be fun, man.
Absolutely.
Because the Flash show got a lot of great response, man. And I think that would be a good idea to get a little watch along going. Maybe those will start to be YouTube exclusive. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah. I like all this. But anyway, so the next question, good old faithful listener, Bob Daniels on Facebook. Bob. Yeah, old Bob. Now, Bob's always thinking outside of the box here. And by the box, I do mean the cereal box. Oh. So he asks a question of, if you only had one brand of cereal to eat for the rest of your Wolfie D life, what would it be? Okay. Well, I'm going to say this because I've always, even as a kid, just been a cereal eater. And nowadays, due to some of my health issues, I've kind of changed up what I will eat and how much of it I eat, because I love some cereal, man. Yeah. Back in the day, it was Captain Crunch berries, and I would eat every piece of the little yellow parts out of it and then save all the crunch berries for last. Oh, dude. So that was like my thing. And then I also love Fruity Pebbles. Yeah. But nowadays, I really like these honey bunches of oats with almond or something like that. I like a lot of those. I used to love Raisin Bran. I'm sorry, Bob, but there's just so many different cereals. If I had to eat one, I mean, at this point in my life, it might have to be one of Honey Bunches of Oats or something to make me feel a little better about what I'm eating. But man, it was always, for me, it was Captain Crunch, Crunch Berries, and Fruity Pebbles. And I'll tell you a funny cereal story. I don't know that it's funny. It's almost sad in a way, but it just shows you how I grew up. We were actually talking about this at the signing. Was somebody asked Jamie about the hood and all that kind of stuff. And Jamie's like, no. He said, I grew up in Hendersonville. Wolfie's the only one from the fucking hood. He lived in Antioch. Which has so much truth to it, man. But we lived in an apartment complex that, I mean, it wasn't at the time, it wasn't like run down. We were not poor, but my parents struggled a little bit, they took care of me. But the apartments that we lived in, we had roaches, man. We did. And it which wasn't because we were unclean. It's just when you live in an apartment and you got people all connected to your walls, kind of, that shit can happen, obviously. And man, I liked honeycombs a lot. I really liked honeycombs. And I went to eat my honeycombs one morning, and I got the spoon up to my mouth, and thank God I looked, man, but there was a big dead roach and one of the honeycomb circles there in my spoon, and I never ate honeycombs again. So, oh, bro, you roach bastards! You killed honeycombs. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry, bro. I know how you feel though. I've lived in an apartment before. You cannot control what your stinking, nasty, loud neighbors do. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it's just like, I remember complaining and being like, the people were like, "What are you gonna do?" It's like, screw you. And I'll tell you another funny roach story. Is I grew up with a guy named Terry Hudson. He was a standout football player again at Overton, and a very good friend of mine, man. We were good friends for a long time, and I went and spent the night with him. And he lived over in the Wedgwood area of Nashville. And for whatever reason, we're going over to this kid's house, and the kid's name is Poo Poo. That's what they called him. They called him Poo Poo. And I'll never forget Terry Hudson telling me as we were knocking on the door, he said, "Hold your breath." He said, "These roaches are on dune buggies in here." That's amazing. I got to remember that one. Yeah. Oh man. Well, poor Poo Poo on that one.
Yeah, poor Poo Poo, man.
Seriously. Somebody help Poo Poo out. Hopefully they got that figured out eventually. And hey, let me throw mine in while we're at it. If I only had one brand of cereal to eat for the rest of my life, what would it be? You know what I would say is I think actually I would go with Frosted Flakes. I know that's boring and easy, but yeah,
they're great.
I mean, dude, they're just kind of you can count on them. Are they a 10? No. I love sometimes, like right now I'm big into the Eggo waffle cereal.
My God. I forgot about that one. Yeah. Waffle Crisp was the thing. And then now Eggo's back out. And yeah, when they canceled Waffle Crisp for a minute, I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
And yes, that is, man, I forgot about that one. That's a hell of a cereal right there. Even though you smell like maple syrup for the rest of the day, I don't care how many times you brush your teeth or take a shower.
It could be worse, man. You could be like a poo-poo, So,
yeah, that's a
yeah. I tell you what, some cereal company needs to promote us. They need to sponsor us, man. So we'll get into that another time. But anyway, thank you, Bob, for that question. It's always good to have a good one from Bob, All right, brother. Well, that's it for Ask Wolfie D Anything.
That's it?
Yeah, man, that's it. I told you it was going to be easy, brother. So, yeah.
Usually I'm like, thank God this is over, but I was actually waiting for another good question.
Well, do you want to do another one?
Do you have another one?
I do. I've got another one.
Okay, so you were just going to say, fuck whoever wrote this. Wolf, you don't feel like doing this. I mean, what was going on there?
I saved them. I've got pages, man. I got pages.
Yeah, I'll give you another one, man.
All right, I like it. I saved them because where we've been doing current affairs instead, now we're doing this. It's like I don't want to do all of them. All right, cool. So the next one is from another great listener on Facebook, Keenan Brown. Keenan asks this question. He says, Wolfie D, who was the first celeb, wrestling or non, that got you starstruck?
Let me think. Like, I guess meeting them personally is what he means.
Yeah.
Some of this. Hang on. I'll say honestly, man, just because of a timeline and when it was, because I didn't meet the Road Warriors till later, and my whole Randy Savage, all that stuff, and Mr. Perfect. I mean, getting to meet Randy and talk to him was awesome. Having a compliment thrown at me from Mr. Perfect when he didn't know me from Adam, and I was 19 years old was awesome, and it gives me a couple of those moments do give me cold chills when I think about them.
Totally.
Cool. And then also the time when my friend Ben Dixon, Nashville, Tennessee, Lone Wolf Tattoo, when he introduced me to Ace Frehley, because Kiss was my thing before wrestling. So that was pretty cool too. But yeah, I'd say those three were pretty darn cool, man.
Yeah. And just like all of our listeners, he asked who was Jimmy's. And so my very first starstruck that I totally remember was meeting the Rock and Roll Express. I was a little kid, and I brought enough money for the matches and to get an autograph. And that was meeting them, and I thought they were the coolest dudes on the planet. So my next step after that was the one that essentially made me so starstruck that I didn't think I could even talk, and that was Johnny Cash. So I got to meet him. He was much older. He had just gotten out of Vanderbilt. He wasn't doing well. I met him at the old job that I had at the Great Escape. He was this little old man. He didn't look like Johnny Cash at all, but I just, and the owner was always like, leave the celebrities alone. Yeah. But I said, screw that. Never going to get to meet this guy ever again, probably. And I went up to him and I just told him, how awesome he was and how much his music meant to me. And I even named my son Cash because of Johnny Cash. And it was just cool, man. And so, that was mine. But I know how you feel when you met Ace Frehley, because Johnny is almost as important to me as Ace is as you. Dude, that had to be intense, man.
Oh, it was cool. I mean, he wasn't super chatty or anything like that, and I don't know that I expected him to be, but you know what I'm saying? It was just like, it was a cool moment. And it's funny you said Ricky, because then that brings up something of mine that was actually before all that when I was a little kid. And I told this story on here. I think when we had Ricky, I might have told it before, but for, we're so many episodes in now, it's like, okay, I can probably say this one again. A lot of people ain't heard it. It was that when I was, oh man, I probably had to be 10-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd say probably around 10. But Ricky was hanging out at the apartments that had the roaches in it that I lived in. He was hanging out with somebody he knew there. And me and my buddies were down there. We had this one little area where everybody played football and baseball and stuff like that. It was a big grassy area. And I looked over and I saw blonde hair. You can't mistake it. And I'm like, that's Ricky Morton. That's fucking Ricky Morton. Holy shit. Went over and talked to him. Ricky flexed at me. And we all know how big Ricky is. But at my age, when I seen him flex, he had a little knot pop up there. I was like, holy shit. And I ran up. I told my mom and my stepdad. They didn't believe me. They didn't believe it was Ricky Morton. They didn't go down to investigate or nothing. But they thought it was full of shit. But it was definitely Ricky. And me and Ricky talked about it years later. And he told me exactly who's visiting or whatever.
Yeah, he even brought it up on the show. That was cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you know about what year that would have been? Maybe just a rough estimate?
Okay, if I was 10 and I was born in 1973, so 83-ish.
Okay, so Memphis, almost Mid-South. Yeah, man. Dude, that's awesome.
That seems about right to me.
Yeah, that's very cool. So it's kind of the early Ricky as far as it goes when it comes to the rock and roll, but he had been wrestling for a while, I
do know for sure that, it was when they first came to Memphis or whatever. I do remember that. It's like they were just doing their Memphis thing, and that's why I knew who it was,
Now, was Ricky legit from Nashville? He always claimed that. But
Ricky's from Antioch, unless I've just been bamboozled my whole life. Yeah, Ricky's from the same place I am, Antioch.
Okay.
Ricky's from the hood. Anybody that's from Antioch will say, I'm from L.A., Lower Antioch.
That's awesome. Because Antioch's it's crazy because it's part of Davidson, part of Williamson, and it's like right on that line, and you got some of the nice houses and you got the hood, and I mean, nothing wrong with that.
South Antioch's, or would it be East? I guess it's South Antioch would be the worst, but
yeah.
And I was just there, yesterday. I took my girl when we came home. We didn't go up 65. We went up 31 from Pulaski all the way into Nashville. So I wanted to show her like Spring Hill and Franklin and Cool Springs and all that, the country music people. And hell, Mick Foley lives in that area now.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Jarrett's funeral when I talked to him. And we had a good little day doing that. And that's where Ricky's from. And, old Nashville. It's changed a lot, man. Everything I went through, it was kind of nostalgic for me too, because I was seeing so much different stuff. It was like, wow. And I've only been gone from Nashville for 10 years.
Right.
So it was like, dang.
Yeah. Seriously, man. Yeah, everything changes though, brother. But you speak of the Jarrett funeral. We'll be having a tribute show coming up, and we'll talk all about your experience at his funeral. Not only that, but we'll be talking his interactions with you and kind of covering that. And we've actually got some awesome interview footage that we're going to do, similar to our Joe Cephas episode. If you heard that one, it'll be kind of like a listen and respond kind of deal. And it's going to be fun, man. But that'll be our Jerry Jarrett tribute show. Up next, we've got Randy Hogan coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, Randy Hogan. Now, not the Macho Warrior Rick Hogan. This is Randy Hogan. So
yes.
It'll be fun, man. I'm excited.
Yes, me too. And I think he is as well. So
yeah, he's a good dude. So, Wolfie D, that's all I got, brother. I swear I'm out of questions now. So.
Out of questions. All right. Yeah. For some reason, I don't believe that. Don't call me back in 5 minutes. Ask me another one either. I'm just, buddy, I love you to death. Hey, everybody, again, I always say it. Thank you for tuning in. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't keep doing this. So keep interacting with us, because that helps us more than anything, is your interaction with us, because me and Jimmy can call each other on the phone and talk shit every day. But let us know what kind of shit you want us to talk about. We'll do that for you. So for Jimmy across the street, it's Wolfie D, and I'm tired. I'm so tired. When I go to bed, I'm a 40 miler. It's Jimmy across the street and live and in color with the 40 miler Wolfie D. See you next week.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
That's right, it's the Talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Join me, Gene Jackson, for the Jackson Interaction Podcast, where I'll be doing one-on-one interviews with people from the world of professional wrestling, as well as stand-up comedy. You can get them anywhere podcasts are available in both video and audio form, but you can find them all at genejacksonpod.com.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at WarrenWolf13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap
He got a cap for your dome.
And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still live and in color. Bum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap unlike any other. Back in the day, I was NOD, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while when you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.